Hey there YouTube fans, AC Productions here, and I just want to welcome you back to my maintenance series. If you're new to my channel, welcome. On this series, in this episode, I'm going to be showing you on how to top off your coolant reservoir, which is right over here. In my series of maintenance videos, I will cover everything that has to do with your R3, DIY on how to maintain your R3 through the manufacturer specifications, and also I'll be showing you other things that are not covered in the manufacturer's manual on how to fix, repair, or adjust. Alright, so for the coolant reservoir, it's right over here located, and if you're still have the stock fairings, you're going to have a Z-pillar here, and you could get away with just removing the top part of the Z-pillar, which is going to be right over here, and it's going to be with a 4mm Allen key. And then you could remove this screw here, which is another 4mm Allen key, and a screw right over here. And then on this one, it's going to be a 10mm bolt that needs to be removed. But if you guys don't have the Z-pillar fairing here and you're rocking the whole race fairing, you're going to have to remove the whole entire race fairing to get to your coolant reservoir. Alright, so now let me show you the tools that you're going to need to do this job. Alright, so here's the tools you're going to need. It's going to be your handle with a 4mm Allen key, your ratchet with a 10mm socket, and the most important, which is going to be your coolant. I could recommend using engine ice. And then also don't forget your funnel. Okay, so these are the parts that you're going to need to remove. Like I mentioned, I've already done that, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove that part right there. I just got to remove these two bolts. Now, per manufacturer's recommendations on checking the cooling would be 4,000 miles, 7,000 miles, 10,000 miles, 13,000 miles, and 16,000 miles. Now all you're doing is checking to make sure you have enough coolant in your reservoir, and that's about it. At the 13,000 mile time, that's when you want to change out your coolant. Also note, at the time of checking the coolant, you also want to make sure that you check the hoses for any cracks or damages. So I'll show you that right now. As you pull this out, here are the hoses, which one is right over here. And then if you follow this through, up through here, it pretty much just goes to the center here. So you want to check these hoses to make sure that they're not cracked or any holes in it. If they are, you want to make sure that you go to your Yamaha dealership to get the proper hose. If you go to a normal parts auto parts store, they may have a hose similar to this, but you have to have it kind of bent in the same pattern as your original. So for this part, I would just recommend going to the Yamaha dealership to get the hose that is needed if it's needed to be replaced. So that's that hose here, and then you have your other hose over here, which goes inside the reservoir tank, and that one, if you follow that one goes all the way inside. Okay, once you remove the two screws here, just go ahead and slide this one off. And as you can see, I actually don't even have any coolant in here. So, and I'm already at the 13,000 mile mark. So even if I did have coolant, and if it was right here, I would have to empty it out, put some new coolant. Alright, so if you follow this hose, this actually goes into the other side. So let's go to the other side and see where it connects to. Alright, so when you trace the hose for the coolant, as you could see me moving that cable there on the bottom left, that's from your coolant reservoir. And as you can see, it goes all the way up here, up through here, going through here, it goes behind this bracket, and then it eventually ends up right here to your radiator. So this is the hose that connects to your coolant reservoir, and that's it goes straight to the radiator, and then it goes to the system to keep your bike at a cool temperature. Okay, so since I personally don't have any real coolant in there, really, it's pretty much all at the bottom. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and empty out this old coolant and then replenish it with some new engine ice coolant. So what I'm going to do, and if you encounter the same thing where you don't have that much, it's no point of mixing the new coolant with this old one, since you barely have anything in there. If you don't have this and you actually have it at where it's supposed to be between the low and full, then you're okay. You wouldn't be watching this video. But if you are a bit low on your coolant, if you have it up at least at the low level, just go ahead and top it off, and you want to make sure that you have it at the in between these two lines. But for me, since I said I don't really have that much in it, I'm just going to go ahead and empty this one out and put brand new coolant. So pretty much just undo the hose there, make sure you have your little container, and then just go ahead and empty out the contents of your old coolant. which was pretty much barely, not much of at all in there. Okay, once all the contents are emptied out, you could just go ahead and put almost everything back. Don't put the cover back on because you are going to fill it up with the new coolant. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the breather hose on like so, get it all the way seated, and then get this little clamp and then just slide it over to secure it in place. Also, I just wanted to note that if you are out on a ride and you happen to notice that you don't have much coolant in your reservoir, you can use distilled water and fill up your reservoir halfway. The distilled water will be okay to use per manufacturer's recommendations, that if you're not able to get coolant specifically for your R3, you can fill it up with distilled water and it'll be okay for an emergency situation. So if you happen to be, like I said, riding and you notice that you are very low on your coolant or you don't have any at all and you need to get home safe, and it happens to be a convenience store, maybe a Walmart or something like that nearby, you can walk in and get some distilled water and fill up your reservoir tank to get you home safely, just as a side note. Okay, so now that I have this already connected there, I'm going to go ahead, and you want to make sure that you have your reservoir at a level position so you could accurately know that you have it filled in between to top it off. Okay, so now you want to get your engine ice. You want to grab your funnel, go ahead and put it here, and then you want to go ahead and fill it up until you get to between the low and full mark. Okay, it kind of tipped over a little bit, so I'm gonna put it straight to see where I'm at. I'm just a little bit above the low level, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up just a little bit more and then check it again. All right, let's check it again. I would say right there is perfect. It's right between the low and the full level. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put our, oh, I almost dropped that in there. That wouldn't be good. That's a little spacer that goes on to this bolt here. Let's put that back on there. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put my hose back in and then make sure it snaps into place. Once you do that, just slide this part right over. All right, there we go. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put our black cover, which goes like so, and make sure that this cover actually covers the top part of your cap, because that pretty much is what secures it so it doesn't come right off. Okay, so at this time would be a good time to start up your bike and just let it run for a few minutes so that way all the coolant can cycle through the system. And if so, after a minute or so, you want to check your coolant level again. If it is pretty low, just repeat the process and fill up the reservoir tank. And if you notice that it's still at a good level after a minute or so, then just leave it and then put everything back. Put your Z pillar fairing back on and put the bolt, secure everything in place. Okay, so right now I'm gonna go ahead and start up the bike. If you guys are wondering about my headlight, guys, I'm currently working on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let it run for a minute or so, and then I'm gonna go ahead right back here and I'm gonna check the coolant level. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and check the coolant level to see where we're at. And I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but it's still right between the middle there, so we are good. So again, not until you actually ride the bike completely, drive it around for an hour or so, and then go ahead and check your level again. You'll be able to check it without removing the fairing because it is pretty visible with the Z pillar fairing. But if you do have the race fairing, you would have to remove your race fairing after your ride and then check your level again. If it is low, just repeat the process on topping it off again. If it's pretty much where it's in the middle, then you're good to go, and then you don't have to check it until the next interval of maintenance. Alright guys, so that pretty much concludes this maintenance video on how to top off your coolant. If you found this video helpful and you really enjoy my maintenance videos, the DIY maintenance videos for the R3, please smash that like button. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that way you guys are up to date with the newest maintenance videos when I post them up. And thank you for watching.